Hello everyone, let's continue our discussion. From the last part, we are discussing the NEET 2021 question paper. So here in this question, a screw gauge is given, and with the help of this screw gauge, we are supposed to measure the diameter of a wire. Okay, and whenever we measure diameter or any length with the help of vernier caliper or screw gauge, the length comes out to be length or the diameter, whatever you measure, it is written as main scale reading plus number of division in case of screw gauge, number of circular division when we attempt to measure multiplied by the least count. That's the primary formula. Now here this least count is something that we have to calculate using this one, pitch divided by 100. Let's read the question. The question says that when we attempt to measure the diameter of the wire, the main scale reading comes out to be 0. So MSR is equal to 0 and the circular scale division is 52. Then it goes on to say that 1 millimeter of main scale corresponds to 100 division of the circular scale. This is the description or characteristics of the screw gauge. It means that when we rotate the screw by 100 division, then the screw will move forward or move backward by 1 millimeter of length. So this is the definition of the pitch. Okay, if the total number of circular division is 100, which I assume. So least count will be pitch, which is 1 mm divided by 100. So the least count will be equal to 0.01 millimeter. Since the answers are in centimeter, I will just convert this into centimeter, which will be 0.001 centimeter. Now let's calculate the diameter. So the diameter will be equal to main scale reading 0, circular scale division when we attempt to measure the diameter of the wire is 52, and least count of that particular screw gauge is this one. And the option 4 comes out to be the correct option. Let's move on. Here in this question, a nucleus is given whose mass number is 240. It breaks into two fragments of mass number 120. The binding energy per unit nucleon of the unfragmented nuclei is given to be 7.6 MeV, while the fragments is 8.5. And in this question, we are supposed to calculate the total gain in the binding energy in this particular process. So the context is the following. There was a nuclei. It breaks into two parts of equal mass number 120. Equal mass number does not imply same element because the atomic number can be different. However, since we are supposed to calculate binding energy which is related to the mass number, we can consider that both are of equal element anyway. So it breaks into two fragments whose mass number is 120. Now according to the question, for the reactant unfragmented part, binding energy per unit nucleon is 7.6 and to that of fragmented part or the daughter nuclei is 8.5. So let's calculate the binding energy, gain in the binding energy, which is equal to binding energy, total binding energy of the product minus total binding energy of the reactant. What is the total binding energy of the product? Well, in the product, binding energy of one nucleon is 8.5. How many nucleons are there? 120. How many fragments are there? 2. Then what is the total binding energy of the reactant? Binding energy per unit nucleon is 7.6. How many nucleons are there? 240. And when we solve it, the answer comes out to be 216. That's the correct answer. One more thing. Normally whenever there's a note, normally whenever a nuclear reaction is being carried out, then the purpose of the nuclear reaction is to gain the binding energy, be it nuclear fission or be it nuclear fusion. We know that the lower nuclei will show nuclear fusion and higher nuclei will show nuclear fission. Why they carry out nuclear fusion or nuclear fission? Because after reaction the binding energy of that particular nuclei becomes more. Okay, now let's move on. This question tells that there is a small block, it is sliding down a smooth inclined plane starting from rest at t equal to 0. Then it defines the Sn. What is Sn? This Sn is the distance traveled by the block in the interval between n-1 and n, and we are supposed to calculate the ratio of this corresponding distance. Okay, so the block is sliding down, it is like this. When the block is sliding down from rest, the initial speed has to be 0, and when the block is sliding down, it is sliding down because of the gravity. So acceleration of the block experienced by the block in that particular inclined plane is g sine theta. Why I am writing this? This is not required. I am writing this because this acceleration is constant, and if this acceleration is constant, the motion of this particular block is uniformly accelerated motion, and if it's so, then we can use the uniformly accelerated motion equations, and we study that distance travel in nth second by a block in uniformly accelerated motion is to be this one. Now let me calculate Sn divided by Sn plus 1. Initial speed is 0, a by 2 2n minus 1 divided by 0 plus a by 2. This denominator is the distance travel in n plus 1th second. So in place of n I have to put n plus 1, and when I calculate this, the answer comes out to be 2n minus 1 divided by 2n plus 1. So answer is option 2. One more thing, when it is moving down, every subsequent moment, the distance traveled by the object per unit time will be more, because speed is increasing. If the speed is increasing, the distance travel in every moment in per unit time in every subsequent moment will be more. So definitely Sn plus 1 has to be more than Sn minus 1, right? Which means option 3 and option 4 cannot be the answer anyway. Let's move on. This question tells that there's a description given and we have to find the angle of emergence of the light from the prism. Given that this prism is made with a material with refractive index square root of 3. Let me draw this with little big specs. Okay. So the light strikes this particular surface perpendicularly, which means angle of incident is 0. So it will enter the prism with 0 refraction angle. So thereby this angle is also 90. Now since we are supposed to calculate angle of emergence, what is angle of emergence first of all? Now when the light will strike this particular surface, let the surface be AB, then what will happen? It is going from the denser medium, let's say this medium is equal to square root of 3, and outer medium it is not mentioned, therefore I have to consider the outer medium to be 1. So it is going from the denser medium to the rarer medium, therefore the light will bend away from the normal, and the angle that it makes while it goes out from the prism is the angle of emergence. So simple, angle of emergence is the angle made by the light with normal when it goes out of the prism. Now before we apply the Snell's law, because in order to calculate this angle I have to apply the Snell's law on this particular surface AB, I have to know this angle, this particular angle. How to calculate this angle? This angle is 60 degree, thereby this correspondence angle will be 60 degree. Again this triangle is right angle triangle, which means This is 90, this is 60, and this will be 90 minus 60 will be 30. Okay, 30. Now I will apply the Snell's law on AB. So applying Snell's law on this interface AB, so which will give me that N1 multiplied by sine of angle of incident equal to this N2 multiplied by sine of angle of emergence. So this will be equal to square root of 3 multiplied by half. This is equal to 1 multiplied by sine of E. Thereby sine of angle of emergence should be equal to 3 by 2, which will give me E to be 60 degree. So answer is option 1. One more important thing in this calculation that I have skipped, which we should have done, is the checking of the fact that whether light will transfer into the other medium or it will reflect back into the medium, because the light when it strikes AB, the light may reflect back into the medium if the angle of incident was more than the critical angle of the medium. Okay, but directly without checking that I have solved the problem. It's just that the calculation will be lengthy, but it should have checked. So here in this question, this angle 30, okay, it is less than the critical angle of the medium. You can check it. Okay, let's move on. So here in this question, there is a spring which is traced by 5 centimeter, of course, from its natural length with the help of a force 10 Newton. And then we have to calculate the time period of oscillation when a mass 2 kg is suspended by it. Well, so let's say this is the spring and this is the mass. Okay, and this mass is equal to 2 kg. First of all, we have to know the formula. The last point of the question is that we have to calculate the time period. First of all, we ask ourselves what is the formula for the time period. If we know the formula, then only we can solve it. So time period of the block which is oscillating with the help of spring is given by this. So here in this particular problem, mass is given in SI unit to be 2 kg. The thing is that we have to calculate K. So how do we calculate the K? K is the force constant. Well, to calculate this K, we will do this. So force is given to be 10 Newton and the extension is given to be 5 centimeter. This is the normal relationship between F and X. Okay, I skip the minus sign because this is force. While I write the force, we should not use minus sign. Okay, so K is equal to F divided by X. So this is 10 divided by 5 into 10 power minus 2 y, because it was given in centimeter. So this will be equal to 2 into 10 power 2. Okay, so this is 2 into 10 power 2. So 2 pi and 2 will be cancelled and this will be 1 by 10. 2 pi is 2 into 3.14, the value of the pi, and answer will come out to be 0.628. So option 4 is the correct one. Let's move on. Here in this question, a description is given about two lenses and some condition is given with the help of which we have to arrive at the answer. First we will do, let's read the question together. It says that there's a convex lens A, focal length of 20 centimeter, and a concave lens B of focal length 5 centimeter, and they are kept along the same axis with the distance d between them. If the parallel beam of light falls on A leaves B as parallel, then what is the value of this distance in centimeter? So basically we are supposed to calculate, as we understand, this is the convex lens and this is the concave lens. This is A and this is B, and the distance between the lenses is D. Let's say this is the principal axis. Now if you can recall, if the focal length of the first one is, let's say, f1 and second one is f2, we already know that the focal length of this combination will be equal to 1 by f1 plus 1 by f2 minus d divided by f1 f2. Okay, now the condition given in the question is that when parallel ray of light strikes this convex lens, it emerges out of the concave lens as parallel, which means this combination, the power of the combination is 0, because the light is neither converging nor it is diverging. So the effect of convex lens, the converging effect of convex lens is being cancelled by the diverging effect of the concave lens, which means the combined power is 0. If the combined power is 0, then 1 by f is 0. If the combined power is 0, 1 by f is 0. So this 1 by f has to be 0. Now for convex lens, we normally take the first principal focus. So first principal focus is positive 20 centimeter. Second principal focus is negative minus 5 centimeter. So this is centimeter. This will be equal to 5 centimeter minus d 20 into minus 5 centimeter, and when we solve it, I think the d will come out to be 15 centimeter. Okay, so this is the answer. Let's move on. So here in this question, two columns are given and we have to identify the quantities and the corresponding the formulas. So this belongs to the current electricity part. So let's pick up the formulas. So first one is drift velocity. Drift velocity, it is denoted by Vd. So Vd. So Vd is equal to what? I check one by one. I see this one. This is, what does it mean? This is the drift velocity, the magnitude of the drift velocity. How? Drift velocity is equal to what? This acceleration multiplied by some time. Yes or not? Acceleration is electron charge multiplied by E divided by m. Force divided by m is acceleration and time is relaxation time. So this A corresponds to R. Then what is electric resistivity? Well, when I check from here to here, the simple relation that strikes my eye is the following. What is E by J? The relationship involving E and J is the vector form of the Ohm's law, which is this one, where this sigma is the conductivity. Conductivity is the reciprocal of the resistivity. So resistivity would be equal to E divided by J, which means this B is S. This B is S. Okay, let's move on. What is the relaxation period? Suppose we do not remember this, what is relaxation period? Let's move on. More familiar term is current density. So what is current density? So current density will be either this one or this one. So in terms of drift velocities, we can remember that the current density is equal to this number of electron per unit volume E and drift velocity. So this D is equal to Q. So the C would be equal to P. So AR BS CP DQ. I think this is option 1. I hope this is clear. Let's move on. So here it is mentioned that electron concentration in n-type semiconductor is same as the hole concentration in a p-type semiconductor. Then it says that the external field, electric field, is applied across each of them separately. Equal amount of electric field, as I assume. Compute the compare the electric current in them. Well, current due to hole and current due to the electron. Who can generate more amount of electric current given the same amount of electric field? Well, the mobility of hole is always less than the mobility of the electron, because holes are attached with the ions. Thereby, the electron, since their masses are less, their relaxation time is less, which means the electron will constitute the more amount of current. So current in the N type will be more. So this is option 3. Next, let's move on. Okay, so this is again, it belongs to the nuclear physics balancing reaction, completely inspired from the previous year question. So the chain of reaction is given X to B, B to C, C to D. Let's consider one at a time. First, let's say X to B, okay, and B is given Z minus 1. Since here we have Z, here we have Z minus 1, in this particular reaction there must be plus 1 is something that is emitted, okay. Therefore, in this reaction beta plus will be emitted, okay, and we do not have to go to check all the reaction, because the option 3 mentions beta plus at the first place. So that's the correct answer. Next question. It says that water falls from a height of 60 meter at the rate of 15 kilogram per second to operate a turbine. The losses due to frictional forces is 10% of the input energy. However, the total energy is the potential energy in this case, and we are supposed to calculate how much power would be generated by the turbine. So what is input power? First of all, the input power will be the gravitational power. Let's say this is the amount of water which are falling, and let's say this is the turbine. So when water will fall, first of all it will carry some amount of power. So at a height 60 meter, what is the amount of power it can generate? At a height 60 meter, the amount of power that it generates is the energy divided by time. So energy at a height 60 centimeter will be the potential energy. So mgh by T is the total power of the input. So total power of the input is, this is equal to 15 divided by 15 is the amount of mass per unit time. So this is 15 into 10 into 60. Thereby this will be equal to 9000 watt. But when it falls on the turbine, only 90% of the energy is converted or gained, because 10% is lost, okay. So what is the output power? The output power will be equal to 10% is loss. So how much percent will be remaining? Only 90% will be remaining. So 90% of this 9000. So 9 into 9 is 8.1. Next, the question number 16. The number of photons per second on an average emitted by the source of monochromatic light of wavelength 600 nanometer when it delivers the power of 3.3 into 10 power minus 3 watt will be what? Let's understand the question again. There's photons, and we know photons will carry some energy. Photons comes with a fixed some number. Some wavelength will be associated with the photons, and photon will carry some energy as well as the power. So here in this question, let me write down the data. The amount of power that this photon will carry, the photons will carry, is equal to 3.3 into 10 power minus 3 watt. Okay, and the wavelength of the corresponding photon is 600 nanometer. Okay, and we are supposed to calculate the number of photon per unit time. Well, first let's write down the power. Power means energy divided by time. What is the energy of the photon? NHC divided by lambda. Hc by lambda is the energy of one photon. So from here, n by t is equal to p lambda hc. Let me put the values now. P is equal to 3.3 into 10 power minus 3. Lambda is 600 into 10 power minus 9. H is 6.6 into 10 power minus 34. Then c is the speed of light, 3 into 10 power 8. Let me do the calculation. This is 2. So this will be equal to 2 into 3 is 6. 10 power minus 24, 26. Then this will be equal to 10 power minus 12 into 600. This will be equal to 100. This will be 10 power minus 10, and this is 10 power minus 26. So answer will be 10 power 16. So that's the answer. Let's move on. This question says that a plane electromagnetic wave propagating in x direction, which of the following combination will give the correct possible directions of electric and the magnetic field? First of all, what is electromagnetic wave? Electromagnetic waves are the mutually perpendicular vibration of electric and the magnetic field. Let's say this is my electric field, this is my magnetic field, and this is the direction of propagation. Okay, now although I have drawn it like this, it may happen that the coordinate axis of y and z may be in the other direction, but we must understand that electric field must be perpendicular to the magnetic field, as well as it should perpendicular to the direction of the propagation. We know that whenever two vectors are perpendicular to each other, then their dot product becomes equal to 0. We know. And in electromagnetic wave, by definition, we know that the direction of electric field, direction of magnetic field, and the direction of propagation all should be mutually perpendicular to each other, which means E dot B must be equal to 0, and direction of propagation in this case it is I cap, and E dot I will be equal to 0, and B dot I will be also equal to 0. Okay, now understand one thing, this we can do using cross product rule, because we know that the direction of propagation is given by E cross B, but cross product is always little tricky in calculation in comparison with the dot product. So we will calculate with the help of dot product. So we have to check all the options one by one. Since I already know this, the correct option is option 2. Let me calculate this one only. So for option 2, E is this one and B is this one. So if I perform the dot product, the answer will come out to be, this is 1 minus 1 equal to 0. This is for option 2. At the same time, E dot I will also come out to be 0. You can check option number 3, option number 4. This relation will not satisfy. Okay, therefore the option 2 is the correct one. Let's move on. Here in this question it is given that there are parallel connection that consist of 4 electric wires. So there are 4 wires carrying some resistance and they are connected in parallel with each other. Okay, and when we connect in parallel with each other, let's say each resistance of each wire being R. So when these wires are connected parallel to each other, the effective resistance comes out to be 0.25. We know that when they are connected parallelly, and since all of them have equal values, so effective resistance will be equal to R by 4, and this 0.25 is also nothing but 1 by 4. So this is the resistance of each wire will be 1 ohm. Now according to the question, it says that what will be the effective resistance if they are connected in series. So when I connect all the resistance in series, what will be the resistance? Well, 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. So effective resistance in this case will be 4 ohm. Let's move on. Here this question is based on the potentiometer. Potentiometer, as we know, it measures the voltage. Let's say this is the potentiometer wire. First of all, this is the driving potential EMF. These are the 2 points between which we have to put something whose the electric potential we wish to measure. Now according to the question, it's a standard problem. When in the potentiometer we connect a cell of EMF, when we connect a cell of EMF 1.5 volt, then the corresponding balance length comes out to be 36 centimeter. Now if we replace it with 2.5 volt, then what will be the balance point? Well, in potentiometer, whatever the electric component we put here, its electric potential will be equal to the electric potential of the wire, which is equal to this one. So when I write E1 by E2, for E1 the electric potential will be this gradient, voltage gradient multiplied by L1 K multiplied by L2. So from here I can calculate L2, and then this L2 is equal to E2 divided by E1 multiplied by A1. So this is equal to 2.5 divided by 1.5 into L1. So this is equal to, this is 5 by 2, 3 by 2 multiplied by 36. So this is equal to 5 by 3 into 36, and this is 5 into 12, which is 60. So answer is 60. Let's move on. The statement based question, polar molecules. What is the characteristics of the polar molecule? Every polar molecule must have permanent electric dipole moment. That's the correct answer.